Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live community discussion. If you're new here, welcome. We welcome you with open arms. My name is Angela. I'm a full time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some tips and tricks and techniques that I use every day in my own voiceover business. And we get together and have these discussions in these weekly Q&A sessions. If you're not new here, then you know every week we have a poll. And this week the poll is about character voices. If I can get my banner up here. For audiobooks, how do you keep track of character voices? You might have a couple. You might have 5. You might have 40. How do you keep track of them all? So far, we've got 19 votes, 20 votes. And it looks like half of you, 50% of you said, I haven't used character voices yet. And then a fourth of you said, I keep a master file of voices. And then another fourth of you, 25%, said, I go back and listen to remember. And one more vote just came in. I don't use character voices. Interesting. Okay. Because ultimately what it comes down to for character voices is what the rights holder wants, right? Even if there are different people in the audiobook, not all authors even want character voices. They just want, just a read through, right? Just to give it some emotion and to make it an interesting story, but not necessarily like different voices for each character. And on the flip side, some authors want really, really different character voices. I mean, if you think like fantasy or something where you have a lot of different fairy tale or monster voices, things like that, where the character voices are just really over the top almost. So having said that, I mean, how do you keep track of them all, right? How do you remember whose voice is what? So my vote would be the master file of voices, especially if it's something like I mentioned before about like fairy tale or just like crazy outlandish, not outlandish, but over the top voices. Keep a master file of them. So for each character's voice, you take a little snippet of it, and then you could put it all into one audio file, and then you could have a marker. You can have a named marker that indicates where each character voice starts, or you could insert this is for character X, and then the next one this is for character Y. Just as you're listening through, you could easily find each character's voice and then reference it later. Or if you're really good at remembering them all, then you don't need this. But it looks like a good chunk of you said you go back and listen to remember. And I remember doing that too. But I think having to remember where in the book that character was difficult, right? You might have to, I mean, think of the time that you're spending in trying to find what chapter that character last spoke in, and then going back to that audio file to find that character to remind yourself what they sounded like. Or, I could have even added the option to write down. I knew somebody, or I know somebody that writes down where in their throat the voice is to remind them what the character sounds like. So you could either write down their names, what kind of inflection you gave them, with like a whole character sheet, right, of every character. You could do that too. I didn't put that in for the options. I apologize, but if you do something different that isn't in the options for the poll, then please put it in the comments and share it, because that's what we're talking about today. Hopefully, something in this conversation today will help you to be better or do better with your character voices, keeping track of them for your own audiobooks going forward. So let's get on over to, let's get rid of the poll question and go over to the comments. Let's see who's first in. I have a feeling I know who's first in, and I am correct, Joya. Hey, Joya, beating everybody here every day. I like it. Well, every Tuesday anyway. Thank you, Wendy, for mentioning this in the Platinum meeting. I'm creating a character voice profile sample today for a book I'm recording this week. That's perfect. I think having a master file of all of your character voices will save you a lot of time in the long run, I think. Joya then says it's easier setting up voice profiles to go back and listen to, but most of all, you can shape those profiles with special EQs and effects for each voice to make them stand out as individual characters. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if you are doing a book where you have a lot of voices that maybe you are using, like phasers or different effects to make the voices stand out even a little bit further, you might even want to write those down, even what effects you used. Or if you have, for example, like Adobe Audition, you could save a preset and then name that preset, excuse me, after the character that you use them on to keep track of not only the character voice, but the effects, so they're consistent all the way through. Thank you for sharing that, Joya. Caesar's here. Hello, Caesar. Not only do I have a master file, I also have character sheets with their corresponding Laban efforts, plus other little notes, gender, accent, a general description. That will definitely help to remember who the character is, what they look like, right? What they sound like, who they are as a person. That definitely helps. And then Caesar says, acting out characters is actually fast becoming my favorite thing, but it can be very emotionally draining at the end of the day. So having healthy emotional outlets is important. Not only that, but I'm glad that you brought that up, because it also reminded me to mention that the voices that you do choose, or that you and the rights holder agree upon for these characters, they have to be voices, or they should be voices that you can sustain, right? If it's really in an uncomfortable place and really tears your voice up, keep that in mind, and maybe take a lot of breaks if that's the case, because this is your tool now. This is your moneymaker. You definitely don't want to put yourself out of commission inadvertently for a couple days because you push too hard with a character voice, right? And you also want it to be consistent throughout the entire book. So, keep in mind that whatever voices you do choose, make sure that they are ones that you can sustain throughout the entire book. I mean, if it's a character that shows up once or twice and has, minimal dialogue, maybe, that would be not so bad. But if it's one of the main characters, then you might really want to think about being able to sustain it. Fiber Jazz is here. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope those of you in the U.S. had a good Labor Day. Thoughts go out to our SAG-AFTRA brethren and their labor struggles and their vote today on a strike against video game makers. Absolutely. Dylan Holt is here. I forgot it's Tuesday. Yeah, the day off yesterday screwed everybody up, I think. Hello, all from the broom closet. I go back and listen, but I keep a paper list with describing words also. Yeah. I think having a master file and some notes, character sheet, can definitely help with that for sure. Caesar says, that said, hello, Angela. Hello, everybody. I'm wearing socks today. I have a question, but I'm going to keep it to myself. Phil, hey, Angela. Hey, all. Hey, Phil, how you doing, buddy? Annie's here. Good morning. Today was supposed to be my son's first day of preschool, and I have a book I need to finish by midnight, but the boy woke up coughing and sneezing. Oh, no. Oh, no. I hope he feels better soon. Fiber Jazz says, I have a template that I use for characters that I can share along with samples with my authors. I find it to work well. That's a good idea. It's a very good idea. And then keep it in the folder with the book information, because I have a folder on my desktop for each project that I'm working on, and then maybe within a larger folder for where it came from, so I can easily keep track of things. It's a good idea. Rustic Hillbilly says, beautiful morning. Hello from Oregon. Beautiful morning to you too, Rustic Hillbilly. It's actually nice. Well, it was like 73 degrees when I woke up this morning at 5:30, but now it's 98. Bleh. I'll be happy for the summer to go away. Pamela's here. Good morning, all. Good morning, Pamela. Good to have you here. Geok Z123. I don't know. Sorry if I butchered that. Regardless of all the differing opinions, and that's all they are, opinions, as no one can predict the future, I'm still very concerned about AI and what will happen to VO, as we all are. As we all are, I'm sure. I mean, no one's going to be able to predict what's going to happen, but I think, and you're right, everybody does have different opinions and they're entitled to them. But my personal opinion is that I'm going to stay steadfast, because I have to think about the way AI came about, or any kind of real new technology that came about, cable television, for photography, for video, for anything that was new and everyone thought they were going to lose their jobs. I mean, I think what we really have to think about is what the end user, what kind of reactions are the end users going to have? Are they going to enjoy, maybe this? I'm not sure. So I'm just going to stay steadfast and keep on trucking, and whatever happens will happen, right? Stay positive. Writer Dude. Good morning, Writer Dude. Good morning. A couple of minutes late. That's okay. Next time, bring donuts. Kelsey V is here. Hello, Kelsey V. Hello, Angela and friends. I hope y'all had a restful weekend. Acting is the most important part for me. I'm not primarily in audiobooks, but the spreadsheet is a great idea. Definitely. And acting is definitely part of the voice acting part, right? One person I definitely recommend to follow, and for those of you that know me, I'm always talking about him, but Scott Brick is a great audiobook narrator. And his characters are very, very subtle, right? They're different, but they're very, very subtle. And you can still tell the difference between who is talking and, but there's nothing super crazy about, pitch or anything like that. It's more personality. Maybe they talk a little bit faster. Maybe they talk a little slower. Maybe they have a little bit of a attitude. Maybe they have a little bit of a lisp. Just subtle differences. I love Scott Brick. Phil, that's a great idea, or a good idea. I'm going to have to make some character voice samples. I already got some ideas. Good. Good, good, good. MG Stevens says, good morning, Angela and everyone. Good morning, MG. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Nick Davis says, I just started my first contract on ACX. Good for you. I'm just giving each perspective a slight variation in tone. Where do you go to learn, train, and practice new character voices? If you are looking for a character voice coach, I would look for specifically for audiobooks, I would look for a coach that specializes in character voices, or go to conferences, right? There's a lot of great coaches out there and a lot of them specialize in different things. Or even like an animation coach. There's one right here in my periphery, but I can't think of her name. But if you look for a coach that specializes in character voices, period, regardless if it's for audiobooks or animation or something like that, I think taking a class or learning from someone like that would definitely help you in all aspects of this, right? For sure. Kisiki Audiobook Project, did I say that right? My character voices are color-coded, but I don't know how possible that is outside of Ableton. That's also a good thing to do if you have on the copy itself. As you're going through the manuscript, when you give it the first read through, highlight the characters in different colors, meaning, character A is pink, character B is blue, character C is green, and so on and so on. And then if you keep a key close to you, right? If you have like a character sheet or something like that, as you go along, you'll start to remember who is who, of course, but that way, at a glance, you can see whose character is coming up, whose voice is coming up, so you can be prepared to narrate it in that voice. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good point. Chrissy Sells is here. I have a notebook that I keep character notes in, and I have an audio file that I put samples of character voices in. Great. I think that's a really effective way of keeping track for sure. Especially narration. Is it Giok? I hate saying people's names wrong. Regarding my previous comment, especially narration. Faux show. Phil says, hey, Joya. Fiber Jazz 2 Caesar says, I agree. Some characters can be very draining. Good to have positive outlets. Yes. I need to start going to the gym. I need an outlet, period. Caesar says, a useful mnemonic device I use is tagging them with their vocal inspiration, like Crowley from Supernatural, but more posh. Or Mimir from God of War, but female. That's a good way of doing it too. If you can think of a character in your head and then give it a slight twist, you should have a good solid stable of like archetypes in your head. Right. And if a character, as you're reading through as a character, reminds you of one of them, you could use one of them and then give it the slight twist. Like Caesar was saying. Fiber Jazz to Annie says, hope your son feels better soon. Good luck with your book deadline. Absolutely. That's tough. It's tough to juggle when you have a deadline looming and then, little one gets sick. I mean, what do? You could always reach out to the author and say, hey, my little guy is sick. Can I have a few extra days? I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me no, if that was the case. Chrissy Sal says, also, hello, everyone. Wish I could stay and listen, but I'll have to watch the replay later. Team replay. This is one of my time blocks for recording today. I hear ya. I should be recording too right now. I'm not going to miss this. Anyway, bright little smiley face. Nick Davis says, I'd love more information on the master file setup. Hope y'all can get into it a bit. So much to learn. Yes, there is so much to learn. And one of the reasons why I do this every week is to help you guys pick up little tidbits of information like this, because there is a lot to learn, and I don't want to say shortcuts, but little bits of inspiration that you can use and apply in your own situation are definitely helpful. But a master file is, I don't know if this comment came before or after I had already mentioned this, but if you have a singular file where you just kind of if you copy a snippet of a character's voice and then paste it into the master file and then use like a marker or some way of indicating, which character this is, and then you copy and paste another audio snippet of that character's voice. So you have one file with all little snippets of all the characters in it. That way you can easily go back to that and go, oh yeah, okay, that's what they sounded like. And then having a spreadsheet like Caesar and a few others were saying, where you have the character's name and then a little bit of a description, maybe even a character that they remind you of, right? That way you can easily go, oh, yeah, okay, that was their voice. Joya says, if you saw my monitor, I put little written tips of all my characters on sticky notes that covers my screen's outside rim. You sound a lot like me, Joya, just organized chaos. Fiber Jazz says to Geox Z123, are you familiar with Nava? You may want to check out their site. Lots of good info and resources for protecting yourself in the AI synthetic voice realm. Yes, there are. They have template writers. They have a few different templates on there that you can incorporate and use for your contracts that protect you from your voice being used for AI. Phil says to Annie, sharing support to you and your son. Absolutely. Dylan says to Joya, sticky notes are one of humanity's greatest intentions. Joya says, I place each character's voice in separate tracks after recording and add my presets for that voice on. Then I hit the track with the right presets to unify the book in a quick one-click step. That's awesome. Technology. Caesar says, being able to sustain a character's voice is one thing indeed. The other is the character's mental state, mood, and intent. Sustaining that can be taxing. Example, narrating a crime story. Yes, I've been in a few situations where what I was reading was very emotional, and it was hard to not let that come through, although I think letting some of that come through is definitely helpful. Especially when you're, as the character. Mary's here. Hey, Mary. How you doing? Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I usually keep a master file and a notebook on how I help make that character's voice, like a kissy face. Oh yeah, like what your face is doing when you're making the character voice. Yep, write it all down because that will definitely help. Phil says, I think that AI are used to be used as helpers and not replace humans. There are some things that should be left for humans to do, like VO, for example. I agree. Because even with all of the advances in technology, I mean, AI is never going to have a human experience. It's not going to go through loss. It's not going to go through trials and tribulations. And just imagine all of the things that you have learned throughout your life on an emotional, spiritual, whatever level. AI is never going to be able to do that. It's an algorithm. It's a program. So it's never going to have human experience. But I agree with you. I mean, no matter how good it gets, it can't really have that. It can replicate, but it won't be true, right? I don't know. We'll see, I suppose. Ryder Dude says, I'll make some mini donuts next time. Love donuts. Goes well with my coffee. Glawin is here. How you doing, buddy? Good afternoon, Angela and chat. How y'all doing? Late to the party again. And nope, no donuts or nachos. So disappointed. Have been rehearsing for some auditions I'm going to submit tonight. Awesome. Don't rehearse them too long. Submit them and move on. If they take you a couple tries to get it to sound right, that's great. You can call that rehearsing, but don't wait too long because they might not be there by the time that you get to submitting. MG Steven says, when I do my initial read, I make notes on each character, including chapter they first show up in. That's smart. How they're introduced and how they initially interact with others. This helps me hear their voice. Absolutely. Joya says, I can color code in Reaper. Oh, that's cool. Actually, color code my tracks for each character's track. Makes dividing the voices into separate tracks easier. That is cool. I love it that our DAWs can do all of this cool stuff to help us make our lives a little bit easier. and keep track of these things. Glowen says, I'm not ready yet to start with character voices yet. Still trying to figure out my niche in this business. And try everything. Try everything. I mean, it might take a little bit of time to discover A, what you're good at, B, what you like, and C, what your clients hire you most for, right? Those things will tell you what your niche is, and that might take some time. So before you get there or until you get there, try everything. Give everything your whole heart. You might discover something that you didn't even think of, right? You might be trying for one thing and somebody says, hey, I know you do this, but have you ever considered this? And then you might discover something new that might just be your niche. You never know. Yes, it is Geok. Thank you. Geok, the hard G sound, as in Greg. It's an ancient Chinese female name meaning jade or stone. Oh, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Caesar says, is there such a thing as a method voice actor? Yes, like someone who gets deep into their character's mindsets and uses that to accurately express their lines based on a set of emotional parameters. Absolutely. And if you're doing that, then that would explain why you are so taxed at the end, because method acting will take a lot out of you. Joya says to Glowen, character voices is a niche. Yeah, that's true. Nick Davis says, awesome tips. Thanks for breaking it down. I've got a plan for my master file build now. That's awesome. And that's why we do this. That's why we do this. Hopefully a little bit of our conversation can help you guys in moving forward. E. John Danton. Good morning. I paste the script into Microsoft OneNote for free and color the text for each character. I write little notes to myself like J. Jonah Jameson for how to voice the character. There we go. Another great tip. Thank you for sharing that, John. Caesar says, I remember reading Stephen King's Rose Madder when I was younger, and it portrayed the antagonist and protagonist perspectives. And I remember my mind going back and forth between fear and rage. Love Stephen King. Geok says, Fiber Jazz, yes, I have checked out Nava also. Fiber Jazz says, there are applications for synthetic voices where it would be impractical for a human voice, like news that needs to be disseminated in near real time, government alerts required by ADA, etc. Great points. Isaac, morning, Isaac. I like having a key phrase to get into character. Yes, good point. Try saying, dang it, Bobby, without slipping into Hank Hill. There we go. Perfect. Nick Davis says, does anyone use video recording to capture your posture, head tilt, mouth shape, etc. for your character voices? That's a great thing you could do too. I mean, if you have the ability, if you have a webcam, you have this storage on your computer to do so, why not? It's a good idea. Whatever works, right? Whatever gets you there. Caesar says, so I imagine having to read something like that and inhabiting different characters' lives and experiences can certainly affect the VO actor's mind. Absolutely. Yeah, method acting is pretty much all in mentally, right? That would be very, very taxing. It is very, very taxing. E. John Danton says, Microsoft OneNote can be used like sticky notes on steroids. That's awesome. God, great tips today, guys. Great tips. I'm glad we're sharing. Just really quick, trying to make a mental note of where we left off here. I'm going to go back to, if you're just joining, our poll today is for audiobooks. How do you keep track? How do you keep track of your character voices, right? If your rights holder wants different character voices for each character, how do you keep track of those, right? Some of them might even be pretty close together. I mean, how do you differentiate them? 37 votes so far. It looks like now we're down to 54% of you said I haven't used character voices yet. 19% of you said I keep a master file of voices, which we've been talking about most of today so far. 19% of you said I go back and listen to remember. And then 8% of you said I don't use character voices. And it could go either way. I mean, it really, again, comes down to what what the rights holder wants, right? If they want different character voices or if they want really out there character voices. It really comes down to what they want. So working with the rights holder is definitely going to help you to get there too. So in the beginning, if you have an idea of if the rights holder wants character voices, if you have an idea of what you think they should sound like, you could even send samples of those to the rights holder and see if they have any suggestions or if they're okay with them or if you guys need to work on something further. That way, everybody's happy with the voices before you record the entire book, right? All right. Let's go back to the comments. Let's see. Oy vey. Here we go. Fiber Jazz says there are some cool AI tools specifically to help VO talent, like Positron and within our control. Yeah, Positron is pretty cool. Um, I've been meaning to set up a meeting with a representative from Positron so I could go through the demo. But I've seen it in action before, and I know basically what it does, and it sounds like it's pretty cool, but it's not free. I think there's a free trial. Does anybody know off the top of your head how much Positron costs? Dwight's here. Hey, Dwight. Hi, Angela. Late to the party. Had a deadline. I just made it under the wire. That's awesome. We had a lot of deadlines in the chat today. Dylan says, since we're speaking of character voices, what should be involved in an animation demo? Background sound effects, complete scenes, or just character voice snippets? Finishing up my demo reels. And demos is another thing you're going to find lots of different opinions on. I think for character and animation, I do think for those, music and sound effects would definitely help. If you have like a multitude of different characters that you can do and that you can sustain, that you're comfortable doing, then you could probably put them in just kind of back to back to back. You could have them all having a conversation with each other. I mean, get creative, right? But if you have like snippets of work that you've already done, then just, kind of compile that with what you already have. I say get creative with it because that is what is really necessary. And part of animation, our animation voices, right, is really getting creative. Maybe, have fun with it, right, for your character demos. Make them fun. Nick says to E. John Danton, not free, but if you have an iPad, the iAnnotate app is amazing for marking up the copy. I think it's like $9.99. Yeah, you can also do that in Microsoft Word, and I think you could even do that in PDF, can't you? Also, just as other options. Fiber Jazz says, Caesar, have you ever tried applying Meisner technique to VO? What is the Meisner technique? Glowen says, thank you for the advice, Angela and Joya. I'll do my auditions after this, maybe even try out a few extra, just for kicks. I would. Why not? If you got the time, do it. Caesar says to Fiber Jazz, I may actually be doing that without knowing what it's called. It sounds like you are. If I understand it correctly, it's emotional preparation and other stuff, right? It's getting into the character's shoes and like becoming the character, right? Embodying the character, putting yourself through whatever it is the character that you're narrating is going through, feeling that, being there. That's method, becoming them. So that would be, especially if it's in a crime situation, that would definitely be taxing for sure. Sunny's here. Hey, Sunny. Hi, Angela. I had a rough character, like schizo and violent sadist. I'm worried that I went over the top with his voice, but the character is also quite extreme. I go by physical and emotional feel. Those are tough. Those are definitely tough. But as I always say, when in doubt, ask the rights holder, right? If you feel like you might not have given it enough, or if it's too over the top, check with the rights holder and see what they have to say. You might be right on the money. Never know. Glowin says to Caesar, Crawley was one of my favorite secondary characters of Supernatural. I've only watched and don't hate me, but I've only watched maybe 5 episodes of Supernatural. I know. It's like a show right up my alley, too. Joya says, Positron is subscription based between $7 and $12. Thank you. Monthly, I would assume. But check it out. It's cool. It's a pretty cool thing. Caesar says to Glowin, same. Castile is my second favorite, but Crowley has a special place in my heart. One day I will get caught up with Supernatural. I'll get caught up and watch it. Nick Davis says to Joya, that's per finished hour at analysis cost, right? Or are there different levels to Positron for different purposes? Glowin says the writers did a great job of playing them off each other. Castile got a little lame in the last 2 seasons, though. Was it because Crowley was gone? Joy West says, hello, Angela and company. Well, hello, Joy. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healing up. Joya says to Nick Davis, yes. Fiber Jazz says, Caesar, yes, emotional preparation, repetition exercises, and improvisation. Also, rather than a character focusing on herself, would concentrate on other characters in the storyline. Any way you look at method acting is going to be mentally and probably physically taxing, emotionally, spiritually, perhaps. So I think for you, Caesar, taking a lot of breaks and maybe having a couple nice workouts planned might definitely help. Glowin says, oh my God, VoiceOverAngela, there's a law about not watching it. I figured. Yes, I will watch it. It's on my list of things to do. JCC AOL says, this is somewhat late, but when it comes to character voices, R.I.P. Arlene Sorkin. Easy for you to say. Without her, there would be no Harley Quinn. Yes, absolutely. Caesar says to Glowin, I'm not sure what happened either. They probably ran out of good material, so Castile's usefulness tapered off. How long was Supernatural on? It was like 10 seasons or something. Oy. Phil says, Angela, you have a lot to catch up on. I know. I didn't even watch the first couple. It was just on TV, and I couldn't even tell you what episode it was. And then I was like, oh, this is, it's kind of up my alley because I like all of the dark horror, supernatural kind of stuff. MG Stevens says, Angela, you always have great info. I have unrelated question. For an audiobook demo, is it best to use snippets of retail samples of books you've already narrated if you have them? Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do, is just use the retail samples because those are usually, those are also usually what I use on my my Fiverr gig, when you complete an audiobook order and then you upload all the different files and then you have one to highlight. I usually use the retail sample for that too, but I use those to make compilations of different types of audiobook demos. MJ Rod is here. I attended a workshop done recently where we were shown quick tips and tricks on how to do characters and accents. Quite interesting, actually. What workshop was that? Share with the class so we can all learn. Where was that? Also conferences and meetups are good for learning these things too, like One Voice and things like that. If you can attend those either in person or virtually, those are good. They have a lot of great variation of different types of classes of different things or for different things. JCC AOL says, when it comes to character voices, for me, it is very important to prepare and try to become the actual character. Don't think, just become. Absolutely. Glowin says 15 seasons. 15 seasons for Supernatural? Holy smokies. MJ Rod says, oops, how un-Canadian of me. Hello, everyone. Hello. Caesar says to Fiber Jazz, that makes sense. I do quite a bit of that. More improvisation, you know what I mean, than repetition exercises. Improvisation. More coffee is needed. JCC AOL says, I need to see Supernatural and Vampire Diaries. I have seen Vampire Diaries. But I think I was more a fan of the show that came after. Oh my God, it's like right here. The originals. The originals. I was a bigger fan of the originals than I was of Vampire Diaries. What can I say? I think it has to do with one particular actor, though, for sure. Elijah Michelson. Yes. Okay. Flashover 604. Hi all. Great to see and hear you, Angela. As a very green beginner with a not so subtle country accent, what sites do you recommend for audiobooks and possibly cartoon video game narration? I think if you're just starting out, dip your toes in with ACX and Fiverr, Upwork, places like that. And then as you get more seasoned, start to join some of the pay-to-plays. And then start to look for people to reach out to directly via like LinkedIn, social media, and start working with production companies directly. And also look into possibly getting an agent. So it's like a slow progression of things, but there's a lot of different places to find these types of work. And having a country accent is not, I wouldn't say this, it might limit you to certain types of voiceover, but I know several other voice actors that also have a country accent and they do just fine. So don't limit yourself by having any kind of accent, not just country, but any kind of accent. Because again, voice actors represent the world, so there has to be representation of every voice, which includes accents, right? Glowin says, hello, MJ Rod. I'm an NB, and you? Nick Davis says, regarding Positron, lowest subscription is $29 a month. That gives you 4 hours of audio analysis. So this basically does proofing, right? From there, it goes up to a better per finished hour value at $3,900 a month for 600 per finished hour analysis. Wow, that's an investment. MJ Rod says, on happy? Oh, Ontario. Keep up with the conversation, Angela. God. Caesar says, Supernatural has 15 seasons. Don't bother with the spinoffs. They are horse dung served on a paper plate. I didn't know there were spinoffs. What are the spinoffs of Supernatural? To Caesar, Glowin to Caesar says, you are so right. Usually spinoffs, I mean, most of the time spinoffs aren't as good as the original, but the originals, I've watched the entire series like 3 times. Doruk Sirin says, hey, Angela, have you ever been a buyer on Fiverr, not a seller? Yes. As a user of Fiverr, you could do both. And I highly recommend that you purchase something on Fiverr so you can go through the whole process so you know what your buyers are going through. You can help walk them through the process when you have a brand new buyer that doesn't know how the process works. You can walk them through it. So that way, if you experience it, you'll have a better idea and be better able to help your buyers walk through the process. But yes, I've purchased lots of things on Fiverr, actually. MJ Rod said it was done by PJ Auckland. Am I saying that right? It was the accents and characters workshop for 3 hours. Oh, wow. 3 hours of character work and accents. I need help with accents. I really do. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Caesar says to Glowin, I know, right? They broke canon with the Winchesters. Okay, I did see that spinoff. I didn't watch it, though. Also, it was canceled after 1 season. Pissed off fans of the original. Yeah, I usually do. Phil says, Angela, prepare for vampires, werewolves, ghosts, doppelgangers, witches, purgatory angels, archangels, and the Reaper, Lucifer, God, Son of God on Supernatural, and yes, 15 seasons. Yeah, dude, it's like totally up my alley. I just, I don't know. For whatever reason, I just never started. But perhaps it's time. Because it's on Netflix, isn't it? Joy says, my knee is getting better to where I'm using the cane more than the walker. That's good. Thanks for asking. I have to admit, I need to learn more about audiobooks. Do you have the course on your website? No. I've admittedly been just so busy. And every time that I've had time to work on updating one of my courses or working on a course, something else gets updated on that site or something else comes up where I'm like, "Ah, okay, now I have to redo it again because something else has just changed." Hopefully, I can get to the point where I have free time because, as you can imagine, making a course takes time. You have to do the recording, then you have to go back and you have to edit all the material, then you have to put it in a, um, you have to make it all make sense, put it like, it's a lot of work. It really is. But I don't have one, but I can definitely recommend my former coach and friend Anthony Pica's his site. He's got a ton of courses on his website, aviosjourney.com. Caesar says, what's NB? New Bork, North Carolina. You're so funny. Nick says, to Flash over 604, I was just browsing some male fiction English ACX listings, and there were a few books, series even, that rights holders were looking for country western accents. There you go. Thank you for sharing that, Nick. Fiber Jazz, Positron, also working on a new feature to let you fix small VO errors using the right character's voice. How? With AI? How's that going to work? But I mean, if it's helpful. Glowen says to Caesar, NB equals New Brunswick and Atlantic Canada Providence. Canada, not Canada. My mouth. JCC AOL says some spinoffs are better and some, well, yeah. Phil says, I think the Winchesters is a spinoff. Mm-hmm. Gregory's here. Hello, Gregory. Good morning. Hi, I can finally participate in the live. I'm so stoked. I'm sure I have a question. Let me think of one. Just if you're driving, please pull over first. Kelsey V. I gave up on Supernatural around season 7. Too many cop out dead end, then suddenly alive again trope for me. Oh no. Don't tell me that. Also, you're going to have a couple of other people in here I think are going to be upset with you, Kelsey, for saying that. But if it's the truth, never be afraid to speak your truth, Kelsey. Sunny says, how do you develop character voices? How do you know when a voice is fully baked? You have to take into account who the character is, what their attributes are, what they're feeling. You can also, again, work with the rights holder, right? I love it when rights holders give you a character sheet along with the audiobook, or if they can give you at least some ideas that they had, like a spreadsheet or a list, like a document that's got each character and who they are, a little bit of background about them, if it's not unveiled or revealed within the book context. So that will definitely help you. Again, when in doubt, work with the rights holder so the both of you can develop a character voice that fits. Jeanette R says, YouTube channel I linked, improve your voice, how to create over 100 voices. Yeah, if you put a link, YouTube's going to filter that out. But so if the channel called Improve Your Voice, and then the video is called How to Create Over 100 Voices? I mean, there's tons of information here on YouTube, right? And everyone's going to have different opinions about things. Just watch it all, soak it all in, be a sponge, and then take what resonates and what works for you and leave what doesn't. But there's a lot of information here on YouTube, for sure. Flashover 604 says, thank you, Nick. I will check again tonight. Thank you, Angela. Your videos have been super helpful to rank to a rank amateur. Stop it. Don't refer to yourself that way. Don't cut yourself off with the knees before you even get started. Y'all have a great day. You too, Flashover 604. Caesar says to Sunny, when the microwave goes ding. Clowen says LOL. Dwight says, I'm not a big animal fan, but I love the new Netflix series One Piece. Fun characters, good to learn from for voice acting too. I haven't seen that one. One Piece is what it's called. I have to check that out. I've been catching up on the movies on Prime recently. I haven't been on Netflix for a few days. Mohan Kosravi. Hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry. I hate butchering people's names. Hello, Angela. Can you make a video on explaining a bit about voice styles? How to read smoothly or straightforward or versatile and etc. Yeah, I'm a little overdue on making new videos for my channel apart from these weekly Q&As, but that's a great idea. Thank you for the compliment, the comment. Not firing in all cylinders today yet. Need more coffee. Glowin says, glad you corrected that. Was going to let you have it on Thursday night if you hadn't. Fiber Jazz says to VoiceOverAngela, with the voices that you record and label for your character, available only for your own personal use, have you seen Descript's overdub feature like that? No. I'm aware of Descript. I have not looked at it deeply, but I'm aware of it. I don't know everything that it does, but that's cool. There you go. There's something else to take a look at, guys. Descript. Kelsey V says, I wish that was a spoiler. It's not. Joya says, fun tip. Not all authors know exactly how the character sounds. Yep, we just guess and let the VO build something fitting the personality. There you go. Straight from an author right there. E. John Danton says, I'm doing something on LibriVox. It's a great training ground for trying voices, and the author won't complain on your delivery. True, because everything on LibriVox is in the public domain. Kelsey V says to Gregory, your name is familiar. Have I seen you in Dave Fenoy's live stream? Fiber jabs. Okay, I think it's time to turn the air conditioner on. I think I'm cooking my brain in here. Fiber Jazz says, oops, I lost the live stream feed. Anyone else or just on my end? Internet was, I don't know if it was me or you. I don't know. Everything was fine on my side, but every once in a while, the internet likes to let us know where we stand. Joya says, how do you find time to watch TV? I'm lucky if I have time to eat. You know what, Joya, I'm glad you brought that up, because with all of the work that we do, all of the learning, all of the training, all of the practicing, all of the meetings we attend, everything that we do to help develop ourselves and our careers, you need to schedule time for yourself. You need to schedule time for your family, for self-care. I do. I need to schedule that time for myself. So again, with this agenda book that I can keep track of things that I need to stay on top of. And then also that's why I keep office hours. Long story short, I keep office hours. So once my day is over, it's over. Right? I might spend a little bit of time responding to emails or to clients if they reach out with a question. But I try to spend that time away from social media, away from, and I spend time with my family, either watching movies with them, or just time on my own. I do diamond painting, right? Things where I can just be me and just kind of breathe, right? I need to do those things for myself. Gregory says, usually while doing a character voice, I carry the voice over to the immediate narration that follows. Is that a no-no? If you're switching from character to narrator, yes, because the character is an individual and the narrator is also an individual, right? Caesar says, by the way, has anyone heard of VO technique that lets you scream without hurting your voice? I know screen actors employ a similar technique. I have some parts of my book that have angry bits. You could shout without shouting loudly. Or you can adjust the gain on your microphone or pull back a bit also, right? But if you're talking like a full on like terror, I'm being attacked scream, if you know what that technique is, please share. Other than turning down the gain and backing off a bit. Fiber jabs, I know. That does sound painful. Nick Davis says to Flash over 604, search for Holmes on the Range when you go to ACX search later. Kelsey V's, no, I also lost the live chat. I thought I was a single Pringle here for a minute. A single Pringle. That's funny. Fiber Jazz says, okay, I'm back. Demons in the ether. Okay, well, I apologize if I dipped out for a second. Nothing happened on my end. Sorry. Joy says, what am I doing in regards to audiobooks is practicing reading different genres of books out loud. I'm going to sign up with both LibriVox for practice and ACX to start of slow with small books. I think that's the way to go, Joy. Sunny says, ever since starting voiceover, I just take notice of different voices when watching anything, even if it's not an actor. Try to imitate certain voices and make a mental note of how that feels for me. I do the same. I do the same with everything that I hear now. Audiobooks, commercials, I take note of everything. I'm actively listening to everything that I hear for that reason. Gregory says to Kelsey, no, I've been only hanging out with Angela's Platinum group. She's the coolest. You're the coolest, Gregory. You're the coolest. Kelsey says to Caesar, I've heard of it, but I don't know the name. I need to learn it. There's videos out there on YouTube that shows how. I'm going to have to go and look that up. Kasiki, am I saying that right? Kasiki audiobook project. Throat coat can help. Yes, there's a tea. I use that also. Throat coat tea. You can get it on Amazon. It's got slippery bark in it. Slippery elm bark. It's got a few things in it that help to just what it says. Throat the coat. Throat the coat. Coat the throat. I'm a lost cause today, guys. Phil says, I believe there's a 1.5 second space between a character and the narrator. It doesn't have to be exact, but that actually sounds a little bit long. But it is wise to leave a little bit of an extra pause after dialogue just to give the listener's brain the chance to, okay, that was the end of that. Now we go back into the narrator, right? Because the listener cannot see what you see. They cannot see the words along with you. They're not following along. They're depending on you to tell the story. So giving a little bit of an extra pause after character dialogue helps the brain to sort of switch, right? So you're right, but it doesn't have to be exactly 1.5 seconds. Kelsey V says, okay, Gregory, it's definitely because I'm in here and there on a weekly basis. Joya says to Caesar, please don't scream. My ears. Yes, that would be painful, I think, on both the giver and the receiver. Matthew Russell, hey, hi, Angela. What type of software or app would you recommend for video introduction and closing credits? Video introduction and closing credits? For like YouTube? Canva? For creating like a video intro and outro? Canva. For sure. Nick Davis says, another vote for throat coat. Warm honey water works too. Yes. Caesar says to Kasiki Audiobook Project, throat coat is delicious, but I'm talking about how actors can scream without not actually screaming. It sounds loud and angry, like a vocal technique. Well, let's check around some YouTube and see if we can, maybe we'll touch on that on Thursday. Sunny says to Caesar, I heard somewhere that if you raise the volume of your voice a bit and also slightly raise the pitch, it gives the impression of full-on shouting. You could do that. Absolutely. MJ Rod says, I'm new, so take this with a pinch of salt. I've been told not to sing nor scream in an audiobook. I've listened to some narrators do whispered shout. Still gets the point across, I think. Yes, I think depending on what Caesar's talking about specifically for audiobooks, I agree with you, MJ. I think if you could just give the impression that you're yelling and screaming is probably ideal because you don't want to blow the listener's eardrums out, right? But if we're talking about like animation or something else, then a scream, I guess it just depends on what you're doing. But giving the impression that you're screaming is, I think, passable, right? In most cases, I think. Mojen Khosravi? Mojen Khosravi? Is that right? Caesar says to Joya, don't worry, it's 90% smooth, silky, and seductive. Just like everything else you do, Caesar. Sunny says, Angela, check out the humor channel on Discord for the anime version of you. Oh, God, you guys, stop making me self-conscious. Kelsey says, I think yelling would be more like video game or animation material. Yelling in an audiobook sounds terrifying. Yeah, exactly. Caesar says to Sunny, yep, that's close to what I'm looking for. The impression of shouting. Actors need to do that because of multiple takes. Can't do a second take if throat is raw. Joya says, oh, Caesar. Jeanette R says, yes, Improve Your Voice is the YouTube channel. He shares using combinations of timing, rhythm, special quality, etc. Super helpful. Well, there you go, guys. Go check that one out. It's another great resource. According to Jeanette R. I hope I'm saying that right, too. Kelsey V says, also, what throat coat are y'all drinking? I can barely stomach mine. Slippery elm root and licorice tea. You know, I'm not a fan of licorice. I don't like black licorice. I don't. I never have. But if it works, I'll suck it up. I'll suck it up and drink it. Mojen Khosravi. Yeah, that's right. Awesome. Thank you. That's one thing I hate to do is just butcher people's names. Caesar says to Kelsey V, I think that's what we're having. Slippery elm and licorice is an acquired taste. I acquired mine fairly young, so I love it. JC Tate 2 says, I love Anthony Pica and hope to join his academy. Yep, I am actually in his academy. It's a great place. Great place. Gregory to Caesar, I am actually in a play right now, and my character blares at his daughter, but it comes from the chest and not the throat. There you go. There's another technique. Fiber Jazz says, I've been working on cold reading skills 30 minutes a day, humbling, and I'm recording the practice. Sometimes hit on a voice that can use for future character, so I have a file of characters yet to be born. There you go. There's another technique. Practice, practice, practice. You never know what you're going to pick up while practicing. Nick Davis to Caesar says, I read that Project Throat Coat. LOL. Wow, there's a full project for this? Caesar says to Nick, Project Throat Coat sounds like something you watch when the kids are asleep. Stop it, Caesar. Nick says to Caesar, I'm dying. Caesar's a funny dude. He's a funny dude. Kelsey V says to Caesar, I feel like every time I drink it, my floor is gonna acquire a taste for it. That's so funny. I do like in the cartoons, back in the day when they would just plug their nose and just drink it. That's me with the throat coat tea. I don't like licorice at all, but I'll do it if it helps. Or just warm honey water, right? I'll do that too. Honey and lemon. Caesar says to Gregory, that one I shall try as well. Yeah, a lot of good tips today. So you guys, thank you so much for participating and commenting and all the things. I love that we all come together every week and talk about this topic together, or our topics together, whatever the topic is for the week. If you have any requests or suggestions for a future topic for this community get together, please put them in the comments down below. If you're watching this after the fact or after this live ends, I appreciate it. But again, everyone, thanks for joining, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.